It's my pleasure to introduce our next dental disruptor. Her name is Melissa Callaway. Melissa's got an unbelievable track record, which many of you have read on the website, and of course, with her bio. But what Melissa excels at, and when we had first met, she has instant magnetic ability to connect with a person, typically speaking between 7 and 9 seconds. That is how fast this lady can connect with any single person in this room. And she's done it not just with every interaction she's had throughout her professional career, but she's done it now, again, picking up from Rachel's talk, through LinkedIn. Over 7,500 people now follow on a daily basis and a regular basis through her postings. And it's really just using the power of influential communication. Every single one of us is communicating on a daily basis, whether it be with friends, family, patients, coworkers, team members, your children, your spouse, parents, everybody. So today, we're so pleased to have a disruptor completely and totally sharing her thoughts on the effective use of communication and the power of communication. Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Callaway. Love it. Power of influential communication.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie.
I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
All right, so I've learned now to videotape the introduction so that I can bring it home to my kids when I feel like a doormat. I say, see, mommy does more than just the mummy hat thing. So I show them that and just got to puff myself up a little bit. You know, such incredible speakers this morning. A little bit nerve-wracking, but a lot of learning. And I love being in a room with people who get it. And it seems that every interaction that I've had with people here today, they absolutely get it. The mindset, it's funny, we were talking to some incredible people last night, and we were talking about Simon Sinek. And of course, on the screen this morning, Simon Sinek talking about the infinite and the finite game. And I always play the finite game. It's about building relationships. And if at the end of the day, you're not building relationships, you're not building the infinite game. Now, Rachel, amazing presentation this morning. And I absolutely agree with you when it comes to social media and LinkedIn. That's exactly how Vic and I actually met. His assistant reached out to me, Shannon, lovely lady. Again, Vic surrounds himself with people just like him. Brilliant, like-minded, positive people who actually care about giving back and helping in a very altruistic way, and those are the kind of people that I want to hang out with. And if you are good at communicating, do it through social media as well, and that's all done through branding, as Rachel was saying. And so, you know, starting off in this career, let me back up a little bit. I'm quite new to the dental industry, just a couple years in. But I'm not new to business development. I'm not new to HR and recruitment. I've been doing that for 15 plus years. And now I own a dental recruiting company. We're now nationwide in just a few short years. And the reason that I've been able to do that, I think, and I hope it doesn't sound like I'm tooting my horn, it's that I've put in the consistent hard work for the last 20 years, every single day, building relationships, building myself, personal development, humbling myself, and learning from all of you. So every opportunity that I can get to learn from people like you, and of course Vic, it's an absolute blessing. So Shannon reaches out to me, and I get this random email one day, and she says, hey Melissa, you know, the owner of my company would like to meet you, and his name's Vic, and at the time I didn't, you know, I'm so new, baby in the industry, didn't know who you were. Hello. I should have, and so did a little bit of research. And then of course my next thought was, well, I gotta I live in Oakville. I'm based in Oakville. Our company is nationwide, but I'm based out of Oakville. And I thought, well, I gotta meet this guy because I truly believe in that energetic connection. And I like to connect with people, whether it be in person or over conference. Technology allows us to do that. And so I meet Vic, and like you said, instantaneously, we had this immediate connection as if I have known him for my entire life. And what do you know, that the people that he surrounds himself, we had this fabulous dinner last night, and every single person that I talked to, I almost felt like I was talking to Vic, or extension of, with different skill sets. And it's quite incredible and beautiful to see. And obviously, the majority of the speakers this morning, what I'm going to talk about, influential communication, they've got that down pat. So I'm hoping that if there's any, I just want you to have one tidbit of information that you take away from my presentation today. So I'm going to be talking about influential communication as a dentist, but in reality, influential communication. If you can be a better communicator, you can be a better partner, you can be a better mother, you can be a better father, you can be a better leader, a better manager, a better employee. You will just excel in every area of your life if you are able to communicate. Communication becomes influenced. So, topics that I'm going to cover today that Vic asked me to cover, obviously professional communication, we'll talk about that. How to plan for an associate interview. So just to show of hands, I want to get a little bit of pulse, and I kind of walked around and talked to a few people today just to see, you know, where people were at. How many people in the room are new grads, third year, fourth, who's still in school? Okay, so we got, and you're all over there, concentrated kind of. Come on up to the front. All the top money makers of industry, they're always in the front. So you want to kind of mix and mingle and move to the front. Dental owners, dental practice owners. Who here owns a practice? Okay, so we've got a mixed bag. We've got a lot of new grads, a lot of students in the room, but we also have a lot of business owners. So when I do my presentation, I'll be talking about how to plan for an associate interview, interview attire, interview etiquette, and then communicating with patients. All the business owners in the room, don't tune out, because this applies to you as well on the flip side, because just as much as the, you know, you're interviewing associates, they're interviewing us as well. So really, really important to pay attention to that. And I'll kind of use both scenarios when I'm going through the process, because I don't want the business owners in the room to tune out of this. So what I'd like everybody to do, and just listen to me and just humor me. I want everybody in the room to stand up. Okay, everybody stand up. I know it's after lunch. I said to Vic, seriously, Vic, you give me the after lunch spot? He's like, you're gonna kill it, you're gonna get energy. Well, you guys are gonna bring the energy. So I want you to stand up, and what I want you guys to do is I want you to turn to the person to the right or left of you, just grab somebody, and I want you to shake their hand, or touch them on the shoulder, and I want you to pay them a compliment or ask them a question. I want you to pay them a compliment or ask them a question. And it has to be a genuine compliment. Awesome. All right, I'm always nervous to do that little exercise because I think, oh, am I going to be able to reel them in? And although the energy in the room, in this room is incredible, I think we can all feel that. Did you notice what happened in the room when you actually engaged with somebody else, whether you shook their hand, you touched them on the shoulder? Anybody in the room get a compliment? Anybody in the, really? I told you guys to give compliments. Okay, so we got compliments. So, your girlfriend, right? Your girlfriend gave you a compliment. You guys are little lovebirds over there, so sweet. But was it genuine? Did you feel like it was a genuine compliment? Yeah. And how did it make you feel? You have a huge smile on your face, and I tell you, the energy is just exuding from you guys. And so, anybody ask a question, like a question that was meaningful? Somebody had to answer a question in the room. Did you guys ask questions as well? So what happens here, you know, there's been many, many, many studies on this, and EQ, emotional quotient, is really, it's hard to quantify, but it absolutely is real. And what happens, there's a little bit of science behind this. When you actually engage with somebody and you pay attention or you touch them on the shoulder, and I'm not talking sexual harassment kind of touches, obviously, but if you shake somebody's hand and it's genuine, or you touch somebody on the shoulder, or you pay them a compliment. Now, I'm not talking like, hey, honey, you look amazing. Not that kind of compliment. Something that's professional and genuine and warm at the same time. There's chemicals that are actually released in your brain. Dopamine, oxytocin, sometimes serotonin, depending on what type of compliment, if it was achievement-based. But the oxytocin that's released from your brain, and I'm in the room with a whole bunch of smart people, so I'm not going to give you the terminologies, but what's happening, that oxytocin is that love drug. And I've had 2 kids, and I know that it's absolutely important to have that oxytocin there in order to forget all the pain that you endure for this. And so once that oxytocin and dopamine is released, it's actually an addictive feeling, and you want more. And that's where the law of reciprocity kicks in. The more that you're nice to people, the more that you're genuine, the more that they're going to receive that back to you. And that's the power of human connection, okay? So segueing that into interviews seems like not such an interesting topic, but the reality is resumes don't get jobs. What do you mean by that? The resume does not get jobs. People do, right? People are the ones that are getting the jobs. The resume is the first point. The reality is if you've made it to the interview, you've got the job. The hiring manager or the office manager, whoever is hiring you, they've seen the resume, they'd like your credentials, which is probably the same as all the other people in your graduating class. The difference that makes the difference is you. So you've got the job before you walk in the interview, they like your resume, but if you screw up in that interview, it's you who did it. It wasn't your resume. It wasn't your credentials. It wasn't all the other great stuff, which is fabulous, and I'm not taking away from that, but I'll tell you that if you're able to connect with people, you'll be able to influence every single decision in your life. The reality is people do business with, they build relationships with, they hire people that possess these qualities and that they know, that they like, they trust, and who can communicate. So think about this. Communication is the multiplier of all skill. Now, we don't recommend that you yell at people, but really, our kids, and I know this firsthand, man, these guys know how to influence and manipulate through communication. They know exactly what they want, how to get it, and they communicate it, and they do get it. So how can we take the skills that we have and the knowledge, and how can we take those skills and actually communicate to other people what we're trying to say? Because otherwise, you're holding all of that knowledge onto yourself, and it's not getting anywhere, and you're not influencing anybody. It'll get you so far, but if you can learn to be an effective, influential communicator, then the sky absolutely is the limit. I'll tell you something. Growing up, I was actually a really, really shy kid. And my friends and colleagues now are like, oh yeah, whatever, Melissa, you love, talking to people and being on stage. I actually don't love being on stage. For some reason, I keep getting kind of pushed up on stage. It's not my favorite place to be. And I was very shy. I remember being 11, 12 years old and going to friends' houses, and I couldn't even look people in the eye. I couldn't even look the parents in the eyes when they were talking to me. It was that bad. And it wasn't actually until I was in the hospitality industry. I ended up working in a restaurant as a bartender. And honestly, that was probably some of the best skills training that I got, because it pushed me outside my comfort zone. And it forced me to talk to so many different types of people on a very quick touch and base scenario. So it could be from the person who works retail to VPs of companies to highly influential people to mom and pop shops and things like that. So I learned very quickly how to connect with people just by doing it over and over and over and over and over again. So if you're one of those people that like, oh, Melissa, I don't know, I'm an introvert. I'm actually an introvert. I was told, and based on tests, I'm actually an introvert. So I do this, and then I have to go back by myself somewhere and regain my energy. If you're an extrovert and you love this stuff, Dr. Glenn, where is he? Yeah, I think you're an extrovert. You get your energy, you're re-energized by it. I'm not. I come off the stage and I'm like, oh, that's exhausting. You know, I need time to myself to regenerate and then go back out. That's considered an introverted extrovert. So these are skills that actually can be learned. A lot of people say, oh, you know, you're born with it. No, not at all. I was actually very, very shy and had a very difficult time communicating with people. And it's just with experience and truly stepping out of your comfort zone. One of the things I try to teach my kids and my team now is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right? Step outside that comfort zone, because every time you hit a new plateau, you can see a little bit further. And you see a little bit further. Just take baby steps, you know? How do you eat an elephant? You take one bite at a time. Don't look at this big mammoth and say, how am I going to do this? We do it one by one by one by one, and then finally you look back and you say, wow, look how far I've come. So what's needed to plan for a successful interview? So have an in-depth understanding of the company before, research, know a little bit about the company is probably going to be good. Plan your attire the night before. Really, it's just about preparation. These seem a little bit rudimentary, but let me tell you, I've done a lot of interviews, and some of these basic things I don't see them, so I'm going to share them today. Have your resume, your references printed out, placed in a folder or portfolio. Now, on the flip side of this, all the dental owners in the room, I'm sure there's going to be sales presentations that you're going to be doing. Maybe you're, meeting with other people. You're wanting something, whether it's, financing or private equity or whatnot. These are kind of the same types of things. You want to plan. You want to learn more about the company. Be prepared, right? Do your due diligence. Have plenty of rest if you can the night before. And know of any barriers that may cancel or delay the interview, such as bad weather conditions, construction, and things like that. Plan ahead. Think about this one. How you do anything in life is how you do everything. So although that brief interaction that you have with somebody, you think it's just a little thing, that person remembers that, and they project that thought in everything that you do. So if you walk up to somebody and you're kind of negative and talking bad about somebody, guess what? They're going to think, oh, well, I'm not sure if I want to hire that person because I bring them into the clinic and they're going to be infecting my entire office. Don't be that person. Always present yourself with a positive attitude and as if people are projecting you in every scenario that you're doing. Flexibility. Be flexible when you're scheduling your interviews. Accommodate the schedule of the interview to the best of your ability. And busy schedules sometimes create a sense of unreliability. So although people run around saying, I'm so busy and I got this and I got that, and they think we're so important because we've got so much on our plate, sometimes it gives the negative or adverse effect that, I'm not sure about this person. Maybe they're too busy for what I need. I need focus. So make sure that although you're important and we all have things to do, that we don't seem too busy that we don't have the time for the person. So accommodate other people. Not get taken advantage of, but definitely accommodate. Research, research, and research. These are the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Answer the 5 questions about the company. Just do a quick research. Who are they? How did they start? Who's the founder? Where are they located? When they want me to start? When did they get started? And all those kinds of questions, just those basic questions. And you end up looking stellar in the interview, or alternatively in another sales role, for example. You'll look really, really knowledgeable, and people love it when you research them. People love talking about themselves. One of my most favorite books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. It's an absolute classic. I go back to that all the time. And one of the things that always resonated with me was that this one particular scenario was where this person was nervous going into a room. It was a party, didn't know what to say, but they just asked questions and they listened. And sometimes that's just enough. All right, plan. Write down questions. Know how long it's going to take to get to the interview. Know how long the interview is scheduled for. Don't be more than 10 minutes early. Sometimes people think, I'm going to be there so early. It's kind of annoying to office managers. Like, think about it. You're showing up for an interview. These guys are busy. They've got, patients scheduled, things going on. They don't want you just sitting there waiting around. So no more, 10 minutes is just fine. And of course, be prepared always. So what should I wear to the interview? Now, everybody in this room absolutely knows you guys all look fabulous, but it's not always the case. And remember, sometimes interviews are virtual. Like our company is in every single province. So sometimes when we're interviewing associates for a position out in Nova Scotia, for example, we're not always able to physically go meet them, so we'll do a Zoom interview, just a video conference. And you want to make sure that you dress for success for that video conference as well. That's just as important as being in person. And sometimes I like doing the videos because you also see around their house, because you kind of take a glimpse of, see, how are they in their natural surrounding, right? So make sure that everything is professional in that as well. So, I mean, think about it. Would you hire this guy, right? Although he's got the tie, he's got the, the nice shirt, he's obviously a little bit tired. His hair is not combed. So just as much as what you're wearing, it's how you're presenting yourself as well. Dress for success always. Shower the day of the interview. Guys, I'm telling you right now, this seems funny, but sometimes people show up and, you got to take a step back. It's important. We are in the health and hygiene industry. Make sure we're playing the part. All right, dress professionally but comfortable. Closed dress shoes are usually best. Scent-free is the safest way to go, as many offices are scent-free, and there's, of course, allergies and such. Comb, brush hair, and ensure it's out of your face. Again, these things seem very normal and natural to most of us, but I've had lots of interviews where everything else was stellar, but their appearance just wasn't there. And the reality is you're not going to want to put those people in front of your patients. So it's really important to pay attention to these fine details, and not too much bling. A lot of times people show up and you got all the bling and the earrings, and that's great that you can afford that, but you know what, like tone it down, have some class. And of course, appropriate clothing. So how do we act, and what do you say during an interview? We talked about being natural, be yourself, of course, maybe not that much. Right? You want to definitely be yourself. People are interviewing people. Remember, I said resumes don't get jobs, actually the people do. So they want to know who you are as a person. Just be yourself. Show positive energy and enthusiasm for the job. There's nothing worse when somebody shows up for an interview or shows up for a sales presentation or a meeting and there's no enthusiasm, there's no motivation. It's really important. Posture, as we know, over 93%, I think the stats are now, 93% of nonverbal communication is nonverbal. 93%. So it matters how you're posturing yourself. This couple quick tips, closed position, open position. Right? So if you're standing, like for example, afterwards if we're out mixing and mingling out there and there's a group of people and there's people over here and you're standing like this, you're closing off that whole section of people. Just do a little tilt in your body and then open up so that you're inclusive and you're including everybody. It doesn't seem to be a big deal, but I'll tell you right now that it makes people feel welcome and connected to you, and you feel that energy shift. All right? Other things, like when you're talking to people, little things like tilting your head. If you talk to somebody and they're telling you something important about their family or their kids and you tilt your head a bit, that actually creates a sense of empathy, right? They feel empathetic and you can feel that there's a connection there. You're paying attention. Or when you lean in, there's more concern and you actually are paying attention to what they're saying. And that changes the energy and they're more apt to connect with you. Another quick tidbit, this is a whole other seminar on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and this is really just matching other people's body language. If you can match and mirror, and I'm not saying like somebody puts their hand up, you put your hand up, obviously it's gonna be subtle, but if you can kind of, if you're sitting there in an interview or you're sitting there in a sales meeting or presentation and somebody leans in, you kind of slowly lean in. Or if the other person, standing like this and then they put their hands together, then naturally your body does that and then people automatically feel that connection there. It's energetic connection. Sell yourself by emphasizing your skills. What else do you do other than dentistry as well? What do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies? Ask written questions that you've come prepared with. Speak at a steady pace. If you're speaking really quickly and people can't hear what you're saying, they don't know what you're talking about, then of course they're going to create anxiety and they're like, oh, no. You don't want to speak at that pace. If you're talking too slowly and you're emphasizing things at a really slow pace and you're creating laziness feeling, and that people who are interviewing are going to think that you're not going to be able to keep up with the pace. So having a steady, confident voice and pattern with pauses in between at the appropriate places will help with that engagement and that connection as well. And again, we talked about open body language, you know, shoulders back, head up, obviously not too much where it's uncomfortable, but having that open body language and facial expressions, we know that communication is majority nonverbal, so make sure that you're paying attention to those cues as well. So eye contact. I love doing that. If I look up here, you're going to look up there too. I saw a whole group over here. As soon as I looked up here, people follow that. So if you're talking to somebody and you're not really paying attention, we do this. We're thinking in our head, oh gosh, like, you know, thinking about the next sentence, and you look away. Well, they're going to look away. So now you've detracted from the actual conversation. So eye contact is very, very important. Pay attention to that and take notes. All right, so what do I do when the interview is finished? Shake hands. I saw that in one of the other presentations earlier. And this, every time I see a picture like this reminds me of my Russian grandfather. He's now passed away, but in his Russian accent would say, Melissa, like his handshake was always very firm. He's like, don't shake somebody's hand like a wet salami. You know, like be firm, be confident with the handshake. You don't want to crush it. You don't want to be too weak. You want to be confident, firm. And that's very, very important, to shake the interviewer's hand and thank them for the opportunity. And I highly recommend that any presentation that you do, and this goes to dental owners as well, shake their hands. It creates an automatic connection with somebody. I want you to think about this. Imagine that you were doing a deal, and this is not so much for the graduates, but down the road it will be. Imagine you're doing a deal, and you close the deal verbally, you write it down, sign the deal, and then the person who you're signing the deal with, they put their hand out to shake your hand. And you don't shake their hand back. And they say, you know what, I'm really looking forward to working with you. Stick your hand out, go to shake the hand, and you don't shake back. What happens in that case? What do you think happens, the mentality or what they're thinking? In that case, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I trust this guy anymore, right? Because that oxytocin release of that touch and that connection creates that trust and that bond. So if you're not reciprocating, you're creating unease and untrust in the other person, and it can be detrimental to the relationship and potentially the deal that you thought you just closed. Of course, what do you do when it's finished? Ensure they have your contact information, for sure. Let them know that they can contact you if they have any further questions. Always professional thank you letters and emails is nice. Of course, if you have time to do a handwritten letter, fabulous. You're going to stand out, absolutely. 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to do that. Send a thank you letter through email or social media or whatever platform that you're using to connect with them. Usually it's going to be email. And ensure that the address, you address them Dr., Mr., Mrs., whoever that is. Be professional, kind, and thank them for the opportunity again. So patient communication. Everything that we talked about through what I just touched on is the exact same when you're communicating with patients. Patients, if I say they do business with you, really at the end of the day, they'll do treatments with you, they'll trust if they know, like, and trust you. If they're not trusting of the person that's treating them, they are less likely to do any treatments with you. In fact, they may go to another clinic down the road. So it's so important to have all of these things in place, from the body language, the communication, the rapport building. Build rapport before diving in with problems. They will be less resistant to what you're offering for them. a quick kind of thing. I know a lot of times dentists, especially new grads, will say, well, what do I talk about? I don't know what to talk about. And of course, you're not going to have a full-out conversation while they're in the chair, but you can have those touch points when you first meet them, when they come in the room, and afterwards. And there's this is Sales 101 training. There's an acronym called FORM, F-O-R-M. And these are just a quick way to think of what to talk about with people. And this is great in any setting, something like this, a party, wherever you're at. Like, what the heck I don't have anything in common with this person. But use this acronym FORM, and you can talk. It's family, occupation, motivation. Recreational and motivation. So family, talk about family, like, hey, do you have family? Or do you have kids is always a good one. How many kids do you have? That's great. You're building that connection. You're building that rapport. You have an instant connect with somebody if you have that connectivity. If you have something in common with somebody, they will automatically want to be your friend, right? So that's family. O, occupation. What do you do? Right? That's always an easy one. And if, you're a dentist, great, I'm a dentist too. And then you start sharing commonalities with people. R, recreation. What do you do for fun? What sports? Do you play any sports? Those kinds of things. And then motivation. What gets you out of, what excites you in the morning? What gets you out of bed? So get people talking about themselves, and it will give insight into their lives and what's going on in their life. So really, really important to build a rapport there. This will gain their trust right away. Ask about their concerns and listen, right? Listening is just important as speaking and communicating. In fact, listening is part of communication. When people feel like they're being heard, again, you're building that trust. Plan your treatment together. Know the family members and what support systems that they have. Build relationships with those people. See what's available to them. And go above and beyond to meet their needs. How can I help you? What else can I do to add value or to help you in this situation, and help them through their challenges regarding their treatment. One final tip that I want to leave you with, whether it be in an interview, whether it be coming to something like this, and there are people who come to these types of events and they're nervous, they're nervous to meet people. And one of the things that I highly recommend, again, this could be an interview, this could be a sales meeting, could be a meeting, could be a first date. What I want everybody to do is stand up one last time, I promise. This is the last time with me. Just stand up, and I want you to put your hands on your hips, and I want you to put your shoulders back, and I want you to look up into the direction of where your focus is. And I want you to remember to fake it till you make it, and remember that every single one of us has an inner superhero. All right, thank you very much, guys. That's right.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was awesome. We take some of these skills for granted on a regular basis, so it's always good to get a really good fresh take and a reminder on how it rolls.